You know what? I have been working security at the Galactic Institute for 12 cycles now. And I thought I had seen everything. Absolutely everything. Drunk Vaxorian cadets trying to fight the gravity generators. Methane breathers setting off fire alarms in the oxygen wing. That one time a Quillen student tried to sneak a plasma cannon into the dormitory because, and I quote, it was for a science project. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the absolute disaster that was about to unfold when officers Kryll and Vento decided to drag that small, pink, fragile-looking Earthborn into Detention Block 7. Let me set the scene for you, because this is important. The human girl, name was Maya Reeves according to her file, was maybe 1.5 meters tall, soaking wet. She probably weighed less than a standard cargo crate. She had these big round eyes, the color of some Terran plant called moss. Yeah, moss. And her hair was this wild tangle of reddish brown that looked like she had just rolled out of her sleeping pod. She looked harmless. Completely, totally, utterly harmless. Kryll and Vento? They were laughing, actually laughing as they hauled her down the corridor, her feet barely touching the floor. Kryll is this massive Droken, built like a tank, with scales that could deflect a standard pulse rifle. Vento is Cerealian, all tentacles and attitude, 3 times the mass of any human, and they were laughing. I was monitoring the security feeds from my station, sipping on my 3rd cup of stimulant brew, when I noticed them approaching Detention Block 7. That particular block is, well, let us just say it is where we put the students who get a little too enthusiastic during combat training. Reinforced walls, energy dampeners, the works. Kryll keyed the access panel, still chuckling. Come on, Earthling, he said, his voice dripping with contempt. Time to learn some respect for your betters. Maya did not say anything. She just looked up at him with those big eyes, and I swear I saw something flicker across her face. Something that made my dorsal fins twitch. But Kryll and Vento, they did not notice. They were too busy congratulating themselves on catching the human breaking curfew. Breaking curfew. Like that was some major offense worthy of this kind of treatment. The detention cell door slid open with a hiss. Standard cell, 3 meters by 3 meters. Sleeping platform. Waste facility. Nothing fancy. Vento shoved Maya inside, maybe a little harder than necessary. The human stumbled, caught herself against the wall and turned around slowly. Very slowly. You will stay here until morning, Kryll announced, puffing out his chest like he had just captured a war criminal. Maybe next time you will think twice before wandering the halls after lights out. Maya tilted her head. Okay, she said quietly. Just, okay. Her voice was soft, almost musical. The universal translator made it sound even more delicate. Kryll snorted. Vento made that gurgling sound Cerealians make when they are amused. They sealed the door and I watched them swagger away down the corridor, congratulating each other on a job well done. I should mention something here. Something important. Maya Reeves had been at the Institute for exactly 6 days. 6 days, and in that time she had kept to herself, attended her classes, barely spoken to anyone. The other students had dismissed her as weak, fragile, irrelevant. But here is the thing about humans. The thing that apparently nobody bothered to read in the species briefing documents. Humans are from a Class 12 Deathworld. Class 12. That is the highest classification. The kind of planet where everything, and I mean everything, is trying to kill you from the moment you are born. And humans, they did not just survive on that nightmare ball of rock and water and terrifying wildlife. They thrived. They became the apex predator of a planet filled with apex predators. I kept watching the feed. Maya stood in the center of the cell for a moment, perfectly still. Then she walked over to the sleeping platform and sat down, folding her hands in her lap. Boring, right? I went back to my reports, figuring the night shift would be uneventful from here on out. 20 minutes later, the first alarm went off. It was not a major alarm, just a sensor notification from Detention Block 7. Environmental controls registering unusual activity. I pulled up the feed again, expecting to see Maya pacing or maybe trying to mess with the door controls. The cell was empty. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, checked the cell number. Definitely Detention Block 7. Definitely the right cell. The door was still sealed, security protocols intact. But Maya Reeves was gone. Now, here is where I started to feel that little tingle of panic in my lower thorax. The kind of panic that says, hey, Maybe you should alert someone about this. But before I could reach for the communication panel, I saw movement on another feed. Kryll and Vento were in the officers' lounge, 2 levels up. They had kicked back, pulled out some contraband fermentation beverages, and were celebrating their big arrest of the dangerous human curfew violator. And standing in the doorway, perfectly silent, perfectly still, was Maya Reeves. I watched as she stepped into the room. Neither officer noticed her at first. They were too busy laughing, too busy drinking, too busy being absolute fools. Then Vento turned, saw her. His tentacles froze mid-gesture. "How did you?" he started to say. Maya smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the kind of smile that predators make right before they pounce. The kind of smile that said, "Oh, you have no idea what you just did, do you? You left me alone," she said softly. "That was your first mistake." Kryll stood up so fast his chair toppled over. "This is not possible." The cell was sealed. The dampeners were designed for energy weapons and psychic abilities. Maya interrupted, still smiling that terrifying smile. "Not for someone who knows how to bypass a standard magnetic lock with a piece of wire from a sleeping platform." I felt my blood run cold. Well, colder than usual. "You see," Maya continued, taking a step forward. "On Earth, we have this saying, 'Do not poke the bear.' You too? You poke the bear." That is when things got interesting. So there I was, watching the security feeds with my mouth hanging open, trying to process what I was seeing. Maya Reeves, the tiny, fragile, supposedly harmless human, was standing in the officers' lounge, facing down 2 security officers who outweighed her by a combined factor of, about 15. And she was smiling. Kryll made the first move, which was, predictably, the wrong move. He lunged forward, reaching for Maya with those massive scaled arms of his, probably thinking he could just grab her and drag her back to detention. The human moved. Fast. Faster than anything that size should be able to move. She dropped low, spun to the side, and before Kryll could even process what had happened, his own momentum carried him straight into the wall. The impact was so hard it cracked the reinforced paneling. I may have spilled my stimulant brew all over my console. Vento tried next, extending 3 tentacles in a coordinated grab pattern. Standard Sorelian combat technique. Supposed to be impossible to dodge because it covers multiple attack vectors simultaneously. Maya grabbed one tentacle, twisted and used Vento's own strength against him. The Sorelian went tumbling across the room, crashing into the beverage dispenser with a sound that I am pretty sure I will hear in my nightmares. Okay, Kryll wheezed, trying to pull himself up from the floor. "What do you want?" We are sorry. We detained you." Maya stopped, tilted her head again, with that same curious expression. "You are sorry you detained me? Or are you sorry you got caught mistreating a student?" The silence that followed was, how do I put this, absolutely glorious. "Because here is the thing," Maya continued, her voice still soft, still musical, but now carrying an edge that could cut through hull plating. "I was not breaking curfew. I was coming back from the medical wing. I have a documented sleep disorder that requires medication at specific intervals. The medical staff can confirm this." "Oh no." I pulled up Maya's medical file, and sure enough, there it was. Authorized late-night access to the medical wing. Treatment for something called insomnia. The timestamp on her authorization matched exactly when Kryll and Vento had grabbed her. This was bad. This was very, very bad. "You dragged me to detention without checking my credentials," Maya said. "You physically assaulted a student. You laughed about it, and then you celebrated with illegal alcohol while on duty." Vento made a sound like air escaping from a punctured pressure suit. "But you know what the really funny part is?" Maya asked. And that smile was back. "I was not going to report any of this. I was just going to serve my time, even though I did nothing wrong, because I am new here, and I did not want to cause trouble. I was going to let it go." Past tense, she said I felt my survival instinct screaming at me through the security feed. "But then you made a mistake," Maya continued. "You left me alone in that cell, and I had time to think. Time to get angry. Time to remember every single protocol violation you committed. So I got out, came up here, and now I am going to make sure everyone knows exactly what happened tonight." She pulled out a small device from her pocket. Standard issue student communicator. "I have been recording this entire conversation, by the way, audio and video. The Institute takes a very dim view of officer misconduct, does it not? Kryll looked like he was about to pass out. Vento had gone completely still, all his tentacles drooping in defeat. That is when I made my decision. I opened a direct channel to the Chief of Security, uploaded every single feed from the past hour, and added my own report. Because you know what? I was not going down with these two idiots. Maya was already walking toward the door when she paused, looked back over her shoulder and said, "Oh, and one more thing. That cell you put me in? The one with the supposedly unbreakable magnetic lock? I left you both a little present inside. Consider it a learning experience." She left, just walked out, calm as anything, while Kryll and Vento stared at each other in horror. I switched my feed to Detention Block 7, cell number 12. Inside, written on the wall in what looked like some kind of cleaning solution, were the complete security override codes for the entire detention level, codes that were supposed to be classified, codes that, if they got out, would require a complete system overhaul costing millions of credits. But here is the beautiful part. The codes were written backward, perfectly backward, like they were meant to be read in a mirror, and underneath them, in smaller letters, was a message. If I can do this in 20 minutes with a piece of wire and some soap, imagine what someone actually dangerous could do. Upgrade your security. Signed, the Harmless Human. The Chief of Security arrived 15 minutes later. Kryll and Vento were suspended pending a full investigation. The detention system was shut down for emergency upgrades. And Maya Reeves? She went back to her dormitory, took her medication and went to sleep like nothing had happened. The next morning I saw her in the cafeteria. She was sitting alone eating something that looked disturbingly similar to synthetic protein paste, reading from a datapad. She looked up, saw me watching, and gave me a little wave, just a friendly wave. Like she had not just systematically dismantled 2 security officers and exposed critical vulnerabilities in our entire detention system in one night. I waved back. What else could I do? You know what the real lesson here is? The one everyone at the Institute learned that night. It is simple, really. Humans do not get mad. Humans get even. And if you are stupid enough to leave a human alone with time to think and access to basic tools, well, you deserve whatever happens next. Maya Reeves graduated top of her class 3 cycles later. Last I heard, she was working for Galactic Intelligence. Something about infiltration and security assessment. Me send, I transferred to a nice quiet posting monitoring cargo shipments. Nothing exciting, nothing dangerous, and absolutely positively, definitely nothing involving humans. Because I learned my lesson. Oh yes, I learned it very well. Never ever underestimate the girl from Earth.